Hello, this is J.R. Chadwick. NephilimFree recently posted several videos from a seminar called Evidence for a Young Earth by a man named Dr. Marc Surtees. I did some research on this man. According to a biography I found, he holds a degree in applied biology from Brunel University. He apparently went on to earn a doctorate at the University of Reading, although it does not say in what field. I have made an email inquiry to the University of Reading about Surtees, but I have not yet received a response. I would be very interested to see if he really has a PhD. Frankly, I cannot believe someone with such a high level of education could say things that are so factually wrong that it would be simple for even a motivated high school student to debunk. Check the links on the side for more information on this man.
Growth rates first, though. Human population growth. It's an interesting question to ask is, how long would it take for this Earth to have 6 billion people on it?
Oh boy, I know where this is going. Using human growth rate projections as a measure for the age of the Earth is quite possibly the stupidest argument ever.
We now have 6 billion people on this Earth. Would that take a long time? Would that take a short time? How long would it actually take? Well, present population, as I've already said, is 6 billion, and the present growth rate over recent years is about 2% per year, an increase of about 2% per year. It might actually be slowing down now, but that's a fairly slow growth rate. But if that growth rate, say, has been constant over a period of time, how long would it take if we started with 2 people to get to 6 million people?
This argument always shocks me when I hear it, because it is so simplistic and imbecilic. It has not been constant. The population growth rate of humans has never been constant.
Only about 1,100 years to get from 2 people to 6 billion at a growth rate of 2%.
Okay, I think I know how he arrives at that figure. He used this equation. It's pretty simple. I am a math tutor. I do this all the time. This is the exponential growth function. We have A for our starting amount. T represents the amount of years that pass, I as our final amount after a period of T years, and R as our rate of growth. We plug in our known values, which are 6 billion for I, 2 for A, and 2% or 0.02 for R. We are solving for T, which will give us the amount of years it will take 2 to increase to 6 billion. We start off by simplifying the equation by combining 1 and 0.02 and dividing out the 2 coefficient. Our equation is now 3 billion equals 1.02 raised to the power of t. Since our unknown is an exponent, we need to use the properties of logarithms to solve for it. So we will take the log of both sides. It does not matter what the base for the log is, as long as it is the same on both sides of the equation. When I put it in my calculator, I used log of base 10. The properties of logarithms state that when you take the log of a term with an exponent, you can remove the exponent from the log and use the value as a coefficient. Now we have the log of 3 billion is equal to t times the log of 1.02. The log of 1.02 is a constant and a coefficient, so we can just divide that out, and what do we have? About 1,101.97 years.
Only about 1,100 years.
Surtees claims to hold an undergraduate degree in applied biology. Here in most California colleges, the basic lower division mathematics track looks similar to this. You start with algebra, move up to trigonometry and precalculus, 3 levels of calculus, and then linear algebra and differential equations. For a lot of the heavier biology majors, you need to be at least here, calculus 2. Since Surtees seems to know how to use logarithms, he apparently is representing the growth rate of human beings over our entire existence using math from here, algebra 2. Many people have passed this level of math by the 10th or 11th grade. It is utterly pointless to show that 2 humans algebraically could have been the progenitors of the current population, because this equation is an extremely poor representation of population growth. It is used for economic studies, such as calculating the growth of an investment at a specific interest rate for a period of time. Actually, that equation is slightly more complex. The added term n represents the frequency that the interest is compounded per unit of time. At any rate, we know the population growth rate was not 2% 2,000 years ago. We know it was not 2% 200 years ago. And it is not recently slowing down slightly. The growth rate is about 1.3%. It reached its peak in the period from 1965 to 1975 at about 2.1%. The current rate is 62% of what it was 30 years ago. And furthermore, the age of the human race has nothing to do with the age of the Earth. The Earth was here long before we were, and if we are ever gone, the Earth will still be here until the Sun enters its red giant phase. It does not even affect the age of the Earth in the Bible. Adam was made by God after the Earth.
So why have we not already filled the planet several times over? Maybe because we haven't been around that long to fill the planet several times over. And just to kind of support that argument, let's think about human skeletons. From time to time, archaeologists and paleontologists dig up a human skeleton, a human fossil, or a fossil that might be quite human-like. It'd be interesting to think about, well, how many should there be? Now, we're told, according to the evolutionists again, that Stone Age lasted about 100,000 years. Okay, just taking the evolutionary side of the argument. So the question is, where are all the bodies? Because if you had a population of about 1 to 10 million individuals, which is not very many, it's a fairly conservative estimate, living on this planet for about 100,000 years, you can actually work out how many dead bodies there should be around.
Pulling numbers out of your ass again. Is this the best that this so-called biologist can do?
Years. So the question is, where are all the tombs? Because if you actually work it out, if you start calculating the surface area of the land on this planet, you will find that if you take Europe, Asia, Africa, North and South America, you end up with a density of about 80 bodies per square mile. So you'd expect to find tombs of 80 people in every square mile of land surface on this planet.
Of course, because every body has always been disposed of in a fancy coffin with a nice-sized burial plot. There have never been any mass graves, burnings and cremations, burials at sea, sky burials, etc. No one has ever been lost and never located. Never has there been an instance of grave desecration, or any instance in any culture in our history when proper burials were not common. Oh yeah, and there were never any geological disturbances in the last 100,000 years. Now, this so-called biologist is going beyond his field. First off, astronomy.
Solar eclipses. The moon, as you no doubt know, is 400 times smaller than the sun. It also happens to be 400 times closer to us than the sun is when it's between the Earth and the sun, because on it's the other side, it's a bit further away. But when the moon passes between the Earth and the sun, or is between the Earth and the sun, it's actually 400 times closer. 400 times smaller, 400 times closer. So it actually has the same apparent diameter, which gives you a total solar eclipse. And the other thing about the moon is it's actually receding from the Earth. It's getting further away. So in about 20 or 30 million years, we won't be able to observe these amazing phenomena of a total solar eclipse. So you might say, well, so what? Well, hang on, let's think about this. 20 to 30 million years, geologically speaking, when you're talking about billions, that's nothing. Okay? We just happen to be here to observe a total solar eclipse when it happens to be occurring. 20 million years either way, we'd either be too early or too late on the scene. And as I say, when you're talking about billions of years of evolution, why do we actually happen to be here at this particular time? Just coincidence that we see solar eclipses. And not to forget also that the fact that the moon is the right size in the right place relative to the sun and the earth actually causes a solar eclipse to occur. So many people think there's rather too many coincidences. I tend to think that's rather too many coincidences. So maybe we're on this earth at this time to observe a solar eclipse because God meant us to be here to observe solar eclipses. And in fact, the universe is quite young and we've always been able to observe a solar eclipse.
Yeah. And you know what else? Pizza in its current form has only been around for the last 5 decades or so, and it also just so happens to be my favorite food. So the only scientific conclusion based on the evidence must be that God put me on the earth at this specific time because he knew that I would enjoy pizza oh so much. Gee, that's swell. Solar eclipses are really not that good of a gift. They are very tempting to stare at, but if you do, you could go blind. What does this have to do with the age of the earth anyways? What if God decided to create us at the same time the moon can create total eclipses? The earth could still be billions of years old. I thought you were trying to prove the earth was young, not the existence of God. Well, that's it for part 1. I'll be debunking part 2 in my next video. Thank you for watching, and once again, my name is J.R. Chadwick.